Welcome to Let's Get Writing. I'm Kathryn Taylor, and here is the show where we tell the stories behind the stories. And you can see all my shows at Kathryn Taylor TV on YouTube. So please subscribe and support our community. My guest today has done an exceptional job of telling her stories, and she does that with both words and a paintbrush. Meet Dawn Baker, a visual artist and children's writer since 1992. She resides in Gander, Newfoundland, and I'm going to welcome her to the show.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Dawn.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. It's so nice to see you. And I mentioned you're in Gander. And just to let everyone know, I'm in Grand Falls, Windsor, Newfoundland and Labrador, and all things are happening.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice morning too. The sun is almost out.
Yes, it is. I've always said this is my time of year to be away because of the gray weather, but today brings hope to my heart.
Excellent.
Dawn, you have had a wonderful publishing relationship with Flanker Press.
I sure have.
13 books that you have illustrated and or written. And now we are seeing a 25th anniversary edition of the Newfoundland Alphabet. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very, very much. It's been a very long and it's been a very lively relationship with Flanker. They feel like part of my family right now.
Yeah, I bet they do. And not everyone can say that they have published, so many books, 13 books, and such a long period that you've worked like this. When you look back over it and think back to when you started, did you imagine that you'd be here with I'm going to just hold this one. Let me hold up this one.
Sure.
And you hold up the original.
I certainly will. I have it right here.
Okay, here we go.
This is the very first printing, one of only 2 copies I still have, that came out over 25 years ago, a Newfoundland Alphabet. And no, to answer your question, I had absolutely no idea that this was going to be around for all this time. Not at all. I was an artist and a mom of a young girl at the time, Samantha, who's an author herself now. But at that time, my husband and I, we had one daughter, and I was an artist and doing okay with that. And thought I should maybe try to do a children's book. So that's where it started.
Amazing. And you can see the difference when we held up the 2 books, sort of slightly different look to the new one, but 25th anniversary, and you've had such success with your book sales. And you've told me at one point that was in large part to Newfoundlanders.
Oh my gosh, yes. I can't thank the people from Newfoundland and Labrador enough. My own community here, but also central Newfoundland, people all over the province, people in Labrador, a portion of the province as well. I can't get over how supportive they have been. And so many of my books are purchased so that they can be put in a package to go somewhere else. And that is just such an amazing thing. I only wish that sometimes I could be going with them, but it's amazing. People buy my books for their grandchildren, for their extended family, for people they've met, for people who are going to come to the province or have been to the province. Newfoundlanders have been amazing to me, and I am very, very grateful.
And you said the one thing about children's books, this genre that's rather different from other genres, is the fact the longevity of the books. Maybe you can just comment to that.
Sure. It is. It's quite different. I find that with an adult novel or a work of nonfiction, it will come out and there will be, it sort of goes on a trajectory of very high and then it sort of slows down and it gradually continues to slow down unless something, creates activity such as maybe a movie or something like that.
Or a musical.
Well, hello. Yes, of course, Kathryn, a musical, that sort of thing. And then it will take off again. But normally it goes up and then it has a very slow decline. But with a children's book, I find that when it comes out, there isn't that same huge bump at the beginning generally, but it's more of a slow growth. And then the children's, people will buy it for children that are being born, and there's just a longer, and it just keeps going. With the a Newfoundland Alphabet, which I don't know how many times it's been reprinted, because I don't know how many were printed each time off the top of my head, but many times. And every year, the sales are almost the same as they were the year before. So it's, and after 25 years, that's astounding. Now, it was a little higher in the beginning, but it didn't slow down as much as you would expect. And with a children's book that sort of catches the imagination of people, it just tends to stay around, at a lower pace, but it stays around a really long time.
This morning with my coffee, I said, I'm going to read the book again. And so I'm sitting there and I'm thinking that a Newfoundland Alphabet, what's she going to put down for X?
Exactly. Well, that's true.
It was so nice. I got to share.
Well, X marks the spot. And of course, the spot is Lansa Meadows. Yeah. And I have a Viking ship. I did sort of an old-fashioned map. And and in old-fashioned maps, of course, they used to have these drawings of sea creatures and ships and things. So I put a Viking ship that was about to approach, of course, symbolizing the Matthew, about to approach. And of course, that was on my mind because it was in 97 that we had the anniversary of the Matthew. And I was in Bonavista at a craft fair for 4 days when the Matthew came in. And so I guess it was in my mind. But of course, this goes way back before the Matthew. This goes way back to the Vikings. Mm-hmm. And but ships approaching and maps and things like that were on my mind. Yeah.
And it's very nice. I find what you think of with your art and your illustration, it's just amazing. Now, let's go back. How did this all start with that first book? And you were painting. Were you involved? You were involved in the art community, but what got you thinking books?
Well, that's a good question. I definitely was involved in the art community. I was part of a group here in Gander at that time called the Gander Brush and Palette Club. And we used to meet every Wednesday, and it was a lovely time. And we all were visual artists, most of us working in oil, very traditional. Anyway, my daughter was born in 91. And when she was very little, I purchased Newfoundland children's books for her down by Jim Long's stage, of course. And that's one which, again, it's just as popular today as it was, or the Mummer's Song was a children's book that my friend Joanne gave to Samantha for Christmas. And, those, there were some gorgeous, wonderful Newfoundland children's books, but there weren't very many of them. And I thought that since I was doing okay as an artist, and there were a number of framing galleries in particular that were selling my work, I approached them and I said, would you be interested in, or do you think there would be a market? And I approached them by fax, just to put it in perspective of when this was happening. I faxed them. And they said, we think there might be a market for that. So I thought it would be, I wasn't terribly confident about my writing ability. And I thought, but I was pretty confident about the artist part. So I thought if I just have a collection of words and images that, it might be well received. And so I self-published. And most of it was because of Samantha. I was looking for books for her. And I thought, there isn't a lot. And I think other parents were doing the same. So I think I saw a place in the market where maybe I could fit.
Mm-hmm. And actually, you mentioned Samantha, which I think is a good time to bring this in. She is somewhat following in your footsteps. She's writing, and you two are working together.
We are, and I don't mind admitting that Samantha is a better writer than I am. I will say that. I'm a great storyteller. I do believe that, and I tell my stories through images as well as words. But Samantha she just has such a great understanding of the English language, and she is a wordsmith. And her first book, actually, I have it here.
just
Yes,
showing
her
the
first
stream
book,
too.
this
Oh,
one.
that's her first one.
This was her
Okay.
first book,
Yeah.
and it was longlisted for the Bruno Family Children's Literature Award. So quite an honor. Yeah, and now she has a second book. That's this one, which you have. That's
There we
right.
go. Yeah.
Baby Whale Ventures North. And throughout my writing career, nothing has given me more pleasure than working with Samantha on projects. She's a lovely young woman, although I know she's my daughter, but she is a lovely young woman, married young woman now, working at the rooms, very busy. But so this gives us an opportunity. This gives me an excuse to grab her time and to take her and do things. And we just have so much fun. We're going on the road in June for a book week tour. And looking forward to it. Yeah, so working with Samantha is just been a joy. And we bounce ideas off each other. And my writing has improved because of it, of course, too, because I will share with her ideas that I have. And she's very honest critic. And she will share ideas with me, and I will do the same for her. So my writing has improved, and her writing has really come along, and the two of us are having a blast.
Oh, well, how nice. And if not as a mother, if you can't say good things about your own daughter, why? I do it all the time with mine. And and it's wonderful that you can get to work with her. I think that's amazing. And I bet it is a dynamic collaboration for sure. While I have this photograph up, I'm going to take a look at a couple of others. And by the way, I love that cover image. I do want to just take a minute. You've given us that kind of overview, and just tell a little bit about how you designed it.
Well, you know what? I have to tell you that was Samantha's idea. When we were talking, because this book was created through COVID, and it came out, I guess, in 2022. Yes, late 2022, but most of the work was done in 2021, and things were still locked down a little bit. So Samantha she lives in St. John's, and I was here in Gander. So we were sharing things through, telephone and email and what have you. And she said, I want a drone image. She had seen, some footage on the news or somewhere of drone footage of humpbacks. And she said, I think that would be really cool. So I started looking at some images, and I watched several videos of drones above looking down at the whales. And I thought, wouldn't it be great? So I did the mom whale. I decided to have her very centered and very strong, and obviously showing the way, like the mom is sort of, showing the way. And the young baby, who is female in this case, is sort of following the mom, and the mother is also supporting physically, and I'm sure emotionally, her child. And so I wanted all of that, and the color, we wanted to have something really eye-catching. So in fact, I ordered about 5 different new paints in the shades of teal and green and blue. And I had a full sheet where I was mixing colors, because I work in watercolor now for all of my books the last 10 years or so. They've been all in watercolor. And I mixed up all the colors. And then I sort of was going around, asking my husband, Dean, whoever was around, which of these do you like the best? Doing a little market research. And so it came together, and then when Flanker got it, of course, Peter Haynes, who works with Flanker, he sets up the layouts for the book. And Graham, I can't remember Graham's last name now, but he does the cover, putting together the cover. And once Flanker Press gets it, and as you said earlier, the difference between my original book, the quality of the paper, the quality of the inks, the quality of the graphics, and my books now, since Flanker has been part of it, it's night and day. So once they put it together, but I just was so happy with it.
Well, one of my favorite colors there for water, mostly we find it down south, but I did see a bit of that shade in Bonavista the past weekend. Cold, but it had that greenish tinge, which is so
We were able to use it because, of course, the book starts with the mom and the baby down south,
Yeah,
and they're
there you
just
go.
leaving to come north. So it was quite legitimate for us to use that very warm tealy blue.
Now we're talking about color and your art. And when you make a book, you are painting and you are creating images. So let's talk about that a bit. At one point, we were talking prior to this show, you had mentioned that sometimes people don't realize that this is art. And I just want you to talk a little bit about that process.
Well, I don't think they realize that it's painting. I think they realize that it's art, but I'm
Okay.
not exactly sure if they think that it's created with computer graphics or something of that nature, because some children's books are, and certainly there's nothing wrong with that. That's a different style of art. But I think the question that I get sometimes is, are you still painting? That's the question that I get. And I think, oh my gosh, yes, because usually if I'm fortunate enough to be working on a book, it takes me between 3 and 4 months to do the paintings, and I will be at least 40 hours a week. I consider one or a week to be a really good accomplishment, and the paintings themselves are much larger than they turn out to be in the book. They're at least 4 times as large. And watercolor is very unforgiving. So, you can't make any mistakes. If you make a mistake, you have to start over. So the thing with, I spend a lot of time painting, many, many more hours than what people would, I think, grasp.
And Dawn, so I've seen some of these paintings because you've been on the show, one of my first shows actually back in the Rogers TV
I
studio,
sure
when
was.
all my guests had to be within driving distance. So
Right.
I love
I remember.
technology. And you came in and you brought some of the paintings with you, and they're just absolutely beautiful. Do you sell them, or what do you do with the
I do
paintings?
sell some. If someone approaches me and they're interested, I will sell them. And I've given a lot away. I've donated a lot to libraries and children's schools, elementary schools and primary schools. And that's something I started more recently. In fact, when this book came out as a celebration for the 25th anniversary, I gave one to a school that Samantha and I visited just a week or so ago in St. John's, and I gave one to the school in Grand Falls, Windsor, Woodland Primary. And so I think that's probably the best thing to happen to the originals. I frame them if I can, and because, of course, as you know, framing is quite expensive. And that's my favorite thing to do, is to give them to someone who could appreciate. Sometimes I'll give pieces to family members or someone that helped me during the writing of the book or the creation of the artwork, and I like doing that. But if someone approaches me, and some of the illustrations I did from the Fogo, my favorite corner of the Earth book, there was someone who approached me from Fogo and wanted to have some of those originals, and so I sold them. I do sell them because I only have so much space.
Yeah, well, this is true. And with art, our homes are not always a gallery. We have windows, we have
Yes,
furniture, kitchens.
yes.
Be lovely to have a full gallery everywhere. But yeah, but would you find it hard to part with them
Sometimes, yeah,
though?
sometimes I do. There are some that I have parted with that I regretted after thinking, but truly, I really do mean that. I only have so much space, because with 13 books, and my math, please excuse me if I'm a little slow here on math, but with over 20 illustrations per book, that's a lot of pieces.
Yeah.
That's a lot. So I don't know where anybody, I just simply don't have anywhere to store them even. So it's better to let someone else have them and enjoy them.
Yeah, well, I think that's something like 260
Yeah, I
images.
know. It's like it's
That's
a
a
lot.
lot.
It's a
That's a
lot,
lot.
and they're
Yeah.
big. That's the other
Yeah.
thing. They're not as small as you might think by looking at the book. They're
And I think the idea of presenting them to schools, because you're wonderful that way. You go and you visit, and I can only imagine what that can mean to the children and how it might inspire them to enjoy reading. And this is, this is what we want to instill in our children, because
well,
we've got a lot
if
of things coming down.
you're very kind. If you don't mind, I'll share a little story that happened
Yes.
recently. I was reading at Lakewood Academy in Glenwood, and I grew up in Glenwood. I lived there till I was 15, and that's when my whole family moved here to Gander. But the school that I went to, Glenwood Public School, it isn't there anymore. They built a beautiful new school a number of years ago. But in any case, while I was reading to the children, and in the end, I had a little question period with them, as you do, a Q&A.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, guess where I went to school? And, and they were saying, oh, St. John's, or this and that. No one even guessed Gander. It was odd. And I said, no, I went to school right here. This is where I went to school. And the look on the children's faces was priceless. It was so amazing. And of course, because I know when I was a child, I can still remember, it's a long time ago, but I can remember, and some things seemed a little out of our reach. Certainly, and for all of us, and no matter who you are and where you live, I think you think that, to actually be a children's author and that be your job and illustrator,
Mm-hmm.
that seems like a stretch. But when they realize, wow, she went to this school and that's what she's doing, it opens up the world of possibilities. And it was just great. I loved doing that. It was so much fun.
Yeah. And when you have an eager audience like that, I remember years ago when I was growing up here in Grand Falls, it was Grand Falls at the time, now it's
Right.
Grand Falls, Windsor, that they started Story Hour at the library. And I was the first one that got to be that person to go every Saturday. And we brought theater into it. I had a few friends that were pretty involved with things. And that was my first job, was to run Story Hour at the Harmsworth Library.
Oh, how wonderful. Oh, I bet you were just fantastic.
I loved it.
The children must have loved it.
Yeah, we did a lot of animation. I created Spot the Magic Dog and a song with it. Anyway, that's
they were so fortunate to have you.
Well, but this is why I warm up so much to what you're doing. As I grew up, I saw that, and I brought that to my children and read them books. And I have, we were talking 13 books. I had this slide with all 13, but we're getting 6 of them here on the screen.
That's okay.
Yeah, just to give folks an idea to look and see some of your covers and your artwork. And it's just really beautiful, quite an accomplishment. Dawn, so is there another book in the works right now?
Yes, there's always another book in the works. Actually, there are 2 books that are swirling around in my head. One is a collaboration between Samantha and I, and one is one that I want to do all by myself. But of course, more than most what's involved with the production of a book and all the stages and steps. So this will probably take 2 years for sure for both of these to come to fruition. But I'm really excited about it. And Flanker, everyone at Flanker Press is so encouraging to me and to Samantha. And they knew Samantha because she would be tagging along with me through a lot of these things. And of course, that really helped when she started writing herself, because and isn't it funny how when you grow up, I've noticed how so many teachers have children that teach, and so many people that, if you're watching baseball, the junior is playing now, but the senior played a few years before. It's because I think the child sees this lifestyle as they're growing up, and it becomes so second nature to them that it's something that they would really like to do. And I'm just so grateful for that. So we have two projects, one with Samantha and I, one just me.
Ooh, it sounds exciting. So we can be looking for more. And summer is coming up, and I really want to just share with people a little bit of what you're doing in the summer. You're involved with some tours
Yes.
in Gander.
Well,
Yeah.
I think you know me well enough, Kathryn, to admit that I talk a lot. I think this will not come as a surprise. So I had part of the required, personality, I guess, to be a
Yeah.
tour guide. But in 2019, I started doing what they call, I was a notable local that spoke to some of the tours. And that went pretty well. These tours are beyond words 9/11 tours. And the main focus is the tragedy and the aftermath, more importantly, and how the entire central region and Newfoundland and Labrador helped out. So that's sort of the core. But I kind of expanded it. Last year, they asked if I would actually be myself and Diane Davis. Diane, who's one of the characters in Come From Away, one of the characters based on her. We are the tour guides. And so we go around, I go take people around, talk about what was happening, what I saw, what I learned, and about Newfoundland and about Gander and about our history and our culture. And it's been going really well. I really, really enjoy it. It's amazing. And I can't wait to get started.
Well, I think you would be a fantastic tour guide. And I would just go to Gander to take the tour to learn myself. And
Well, it's so much fun,
Mhm.
Sergeant Gander, the dog that was in the World War, that's one of the stories that I like to share. It's one of the, and that there's a lovely sculpture, a statue of Sergeant Gander at the Heritage Memorial Park. So that's one of my favorite places to stay. But that's all through the North Atlantic Aviation Museum.
Mhm.
And they have kindly welcomed me back. I'm so glad that they did. And so I'll be hanging out down there a lot this summer.
Well, we know where to find you.
You
And
do?
also, for people wanting to reach out to you, I've put your Twitter account up
Oh,
because
thank
I
you.
know you're active there. And one more time, I'm going to show your Facebook page. You have lots of things happening there. So, Dawn, I'm sure you would welcome inquiries from people and people who want to buy your books. And of course, they're available at bookstores everywhere and Amazon, I assume.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. And Samantha and I are doing a book week tour.
right.
It's starting on June the 13th, and we'll be in Grand Falls, Minnesota. We'll be in Stephenville. We'll be in Twillingate. We'll be in St. John's, Clarenville, Eastport. We're going to go everywhere.
Perfect. Well, we'll be watching for you.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for taking time today to
My
sit with me
absolute
and share your
pleasure.
stories. Thank you. And thank you, folks, for joining us. Don't forget, see all the shows on YouTube at Kathryn Taylor TV. Have a great day.